Welcome to A Drink of Wisdom with Nathan Drinkard. I'm Jay Wise. Thanks for spending some of your time with us. We're on Anchor, we're on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts, and everywhere in between these days. We're also at the A Drink of Wisdom YouTube channel, so you can see us and what we're saying as opposed to just the audio version. Drink, moving along here on another great day. But this is the longest, I think, in between two shows, unless we missed one that we had. So a little bit of a weird vibe, but guess I'm okay with it. What about you?
Well, I'm definitely okay with it. I mean, being that we had this long break because of, my scheduling difficulties. So yeah, I ain't got no choice but to be okay with it, I guess. But back here on another sensational Saturday, ready to go, ready to debate. So hey, but like I always say, before I move on, man, I gotta ask how you and yours, how y'all doing this second?
Oh, good, man. Good. One of the things I'll just have to get to quickly is what people never hear on the show is some of the preparation that we go through and just with the wild tangents that we run on. Like we just spent like a good 10 minutes eviscerating Jason Witten's broadcast career for like no reason. So I just wanted to let the listeners like get a sense of that nonsense that goes on.
Hey, and it's funny because his career lasts about as long as my index finger. But hey, I mean, he might fix this, he might fix it and come back. But with that said, another day, another dollar. We here to get the streets what they need. We see what they don't. Absolutely say what they want. It's the morning, so I'm not gonna tell you set your dinner plate because it's time to eat. But if you got them bacon and eggs, go on sizzle that up, put it on the plate because it's time to get you some of this. But last but not least, let's talk some sports, baby. Jay, what you got for us today?
Well, we got episode 42 today, and we'll talk about the Nets and the Celtics. We'll talk about Michael Jordan and LeBron James. That's everyone's favorite debate. And we'll also talk about a major league mess in the sport, also known as baseball. We're going to start with the Miami Heat and the New York Knicks last night. The Heat winning that game 115-100 in New York City. Jimmy Butler, 23 points on 9 for 20. Bam Adebayo, a really nice game, 16 points, 16 boards, 4 assists, and 4 blocks. And they got 25 points off the bench from Tyler Hero as the Heat move back into a first-place tie in the Eastern Conference with Chicago Bulls. The Knicks, meanwhile, their difficult season continues. They fall to 25-35. I think they're 12th. I think they're 12th in the Eastern Conference right now. So a ways back of the play-in tournament as of now. RJ Barrett, of course, a career best 46 points in the losing effort, but a forgettable night from the field from Julius Randle, and just not a lot of good offense outside of Barrett to speak of. Drink, I didn't really prepare a question for this one, so just what'd you think of this one?
Well, I think you said it well in the lead in. This game was the Miami Heat versus RJ Barrett. It seems like RJ Barrett was the only one that rolled out of the locker room on this one. And, with everything that's going on with New York and, Randall, what's been going on with him, not to mention Kim Walker and came up to an agreement with management to sit out the rest of the season. So it's a lot there to unpack. But at the end of the day, I think a game like we got last night, yesterday between these two teams, kind of just show you, man, it's levels to this. When we started the season, I think we did our first basketball segment a while back. The one thing we always said about the Knicks is like you can just tell like they had grittiness. They was kind of a fun team to watch, but we never felt like they had enough. And it's games like this that should show any naysayer that want to say, well, the Knicks, they got enough to, win 2 series or they got enough to win a series. A game like this should show you they don't. Because the only player that could have impacted the game last night that was not there, in my opinion, was Kemba Walker. Everybody else was there. You had Julius Randle, you had RJ Barrett, you had Evan Fournier, you had Mitchell Robinson, you had Emmanuel Quickly. But
Derrick Rose.
Oh, okay. My bad.
Just in fairness.
But the thing is, Derrick Rose been gone so long, it's almost like I would have thought y'all would have figured this out by now. Like he's been gone for quite a while. Like I forgot about him because he's been gone for so long. But to your point, you're right. When Derrick Rose is in now, he's definitely a key part to this team, especially off that bench. But I'm looking. Hell, you got good minutes out of Cam Reddish yesterday. Cam Reddish came in, hit some shots for you. So to me, it wasn't necessarily like the bench got outplayed. I just felt like the starting lineup just didn't. They did not match what Miami was doing. I told you this before we started recording. One thing I like is when I look at a game and then I look at the box score and I look at the 5 starters and probably the first guy off the bench, I like to see how evenly the points are spread out. And usually, more too than not, when the team is evenly spread it out, that team usually win because what that tells you is they're playing like team basketball. It's not just, hey, get the ball to this guy and go ISO, right? Then I like to look at the assist numbers compared to the points. I'm looking at Miami, right? You had Jimmy Butler with 2 assists. You had Bam with 4. You had Lowry with 4. You had Hero with 2. I'm looking at that and I'm like, okay. Then I go look at, the Knicks, which, I mean, RJ Barrett was 4 points, and I said this wrong to you earlier because I thought it was the other way around, but RJ Barrett was 4 points away from 50. Cool. But then when I look, oh, yeah, the next guy, Evan Fournier with 13. And then Alex Burks with 12. And then Julius Randle with 11. And Julius Randle is the guy that's running his mouth saying he want to be a bigger piece. He should be the cornerstone of a franchise. Okay, so you can't come out here with that one-man show crap when you're playing the top of your conference. We ain't even going to talk about the Western Conference. We're just keeping in the Eastern Conference. You're playing the top of your conference, and you at home, and then you come out here with the RJ Barrett show. This should show any naysayer that it is levels to this. For anybody that want to say, well, the Knicks could be competitive. How? Like, show me where they can be competitive with the top teams. Because the top teams got this kind of figured out now. You have to have a player that can take over a game and elevate. 1. And then 2, you have to have the role players that can prop that player up. You know the good thing about the current rise of the Memphis Grizzlies? And people don't talk about this a lot. But the Memphis Grizzlies is number 3 in the Western Conference. And I feel like the reason they're number 3 is because they're starting to figure out that their head coach is doing a fantastic job with that team. Is you got Ja Morant, that's your guy that's going to most likely take you to the next level. That's your superstar. And then you have these pieces around him that's elevating Ja Morant. Even though that's a young team, it seems like they're getting it. When you got Jaren Jackson Jr., he could be a cornerstone for a team, but instead he's more of a, he's a good player, not knocking him, but right now he's more like a role player. He plays his role because Ja Morant is the guy. I think that works wonders for them offensively, and then you see how they play defensively, and you're like, yo, this is a young team that's really scared. I go over to the Knicks. We thought the Knicks, especially from a defensive standpoint, we thought with the signing of Kemba Walker, he could be the guy. Then you still got Julius Randle there. RJ Barrett, we knew who he was. You brought in Fournier for some scoring. I ain't going to say we. I thought the Knicks kind of figured that out. Because it was one point a lot of people were saying maybe the Knicks is the better team in New York because because Brooklyn can't get it together. So look at where they're at now. Clearly, this offseason, once the season is over, some guys are gonna get moved. I don't foresee Kemba Walker being on the team. I see him getting traded. Julius Randle look like he might try to walk. I don't know. This team looks like it can be RJ Barrett's if he wanted. And I think that's what we're going to see this offseason. And maybe they get some pieces, maybe they don't. But look, Jay, in a nutshell, man, it's plain and simple. We did a segment Monday, pretenders and contenders, right? It's clear to see that Miami is the reason why we said they was contenders, and it's clear to see why it's very hard to take the Knicks serious. I ain't even gonna call them a pretender because they're not even at that level. And so that's what I got out this game. In a nutshell, what I got out this game was, as much as people say the regular season is irrelevant, it's a game like this that kind of show you, like, listen, Miami is clearly at the top of the East. The Knicks is clearly just kind of fluttering around. Please don't compare these teams and say, it don't matter. These teams, like, when the Knicks are motivated, no. It's not that. The Knicks got a whole lot of work to do. The Knicks are closer to the Orlando Magic than they are to the Miami Heat. That's just what it is. So don't give me the crap because y'all in New York. So, in a nutshell, man, that's what I got out of that game yesterday, man. It's levels to this, and Miami right now, they at the top of their game in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, it's not complicated. One team is worth watching, and the other team just really is. I mean, the Knicks are. I'd say they're worth watching, but they're not. Yeah, they're not serious right now, which is disappointing for New York and Knicks fans, because it felt like last year they finally got some traction and they finally, like, oh, Julius Randle, it looked like they hit the jackpot with that one. Thibodeau, getting the best out of him. And, they play great defense and they're doing all this and that. And then you come in this year and you kind of, Kemba Walker, thought that was a nice signing. And I'm not sure, like, if they had I don't think they made the moves that led anyone to believe that, okay, this is a team that's ready to really challenge the upper echelon. But at minimum, you probably think, like, all right, man, what can they just play like last year? And they ain't even been able to do that. Julius Randle his shooting has regressed this season. And that's a big why, like, you're seeing the drop off. He was at 24 points a game last year. He's just under 20 this year. He shot a career best from 3-point land last year, 41%. Now he's back closer to his career average. He's about 30%. So he has really become a more, perimeter oriented player. And last year it really helped because he was making his shots. This season, and particularly last night, he's just not hitting shots. And that's why, particularly when we talk about the Knicks last year, I said, okay, I just can't see them doing anything come playoff time, because Julius Randle is your number one option. And we saw them too often in late game situations. And we're like, man, this ain't gonna work. Like, you need another primary scoring option that you can count on. Because Julius Randle, I still like Julius Randle. And I think maybe at best he can be a number 2 at his best on a championship team. But I think it's pretty clear you have to get better around him. And you've got to get a ball dominant guard who can get it done for you. And they don't have it right now. I mean, you brought in Kemba Walker. Kemba Walker right now, it appears he's on the downside of his career. Can he still play? We've seen flashes this year, but for whatever reason, the health just hasn't been there. And just, I don't know, maybe there's just not a great fit between him and Tom Thibodeau for some reason. But you look at guys that they've drafted recently. I like Quickly. But he hasn't popped just yet. Obi Toppin, can we get more from him, please? Like, can we see what this guy can really do? And then some of the other pieces, like Fournier, like Burks. Okay, what else you got? Mitchell Robinson. It would appear just, and these guys compete at a high level. I think Tom Thibodeau gets what he can out of them. But they haven't been as good this season, and the problems offensively still remain. And the problem in last night's game, just to isolate that in this contest, is Miami plays defense really well too. So when you got two teams that can both really get after it defensively, the difference is what team can score, and that's Miami. So, and as you mentioned, they can do it in a really balanced way. I mean, you got RJ Barrett, God bless him, had a career best game. It was really good to see. He could have had 50 if he hit a few more free throws. But like Jimmy Butler was like anonymous in the first half. He had 6 points. I didn't even see him in there. And then all of a sudden, third and fourth quarter come around, he's rolling. And then Tyler Hero, fringe level, just outside of All-Star game status this year. I think he's in the conversation for sixth man of the year. He looks more like he did in the rookie bubble season than he did last year. Bam Adebayo. And what can you say about this guy? This guy's special. I mean, he can do it all. So you have that going on, real defensive anchor, and like I got to get, Kyle Lowry. He's in there, just flailing and flopping his way to the free throw line. So that's about half his points last night. So Miami, very balanced. They play good defense. They have the intangibles. I think they got a really tough-minded team. Their leader's tough. I think that team embodies that. I think PJ Tucker bringing him over, that's a big deal because we know what a difference he made for the Milwaukee Bucks last year. So there can be no question. Miami's a serious team. I think they stack up very well against the other top teams in the Eastern Conference. I think when you look at how they played against Milwaukee a couple of years ago, I think for the defending champions, the Heat might be the team they might not want to see because, and it's still now that you don't have PJ Tucker, like, who's the tough guy outside of Giannis. So obviously that's a potential matchup down the line, but that's just one of the things I'm somewhat concerned about for the defending champs because Miami's the same team for the most part. So, all in all, like it's just clear. Miami's the better team. That they're serious. They're going to be, at minimum, I think that, if Miami don't win a playoff series for some reason, what a failure. But I do think that at minimum, they'll be in East Conference semifinals. They got a great chance at the 1 seed for, whatever that's worth. And I do just the final thing I have is I told you, and I know how much you like Mark Jones, and I like Mark Jones too. But I'm calling out these guys on some of the ridiculous things they say. Mark Jones had the audacity to say last night that Derrick Jones was playing at an MVP level last season. Please, what was he talking about? Oh my Lord, I don't know. And I just, in fairness, I just looked at the stat sheet like, okay, no, there was nothing MVP about. Derrick Rose is a nice player. That's what he is. He's a nice player, role player, sixth man. But let me just, in Mark Jones' defense, just say, I think people get very emotional when they talk about Derrick Rose because Derrick Rose was an MVP in this league and his career got derailed by injuries. But that's no excuse to be that, just to speak in such hyperbolic terms about, oh my gosh, Derrick Rose, he was really the catalyst last year to the Knicks in the stretch dive playing at MVP level. Please stop. Like, no, Mark Jones said it and I could not believe it. And I had to call him on that.